Oh boy, do I have a story for you. Once upon a time, I read a book called Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. This is not a review video of Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. Let me just very quickly say that it was a wonderful, wonderful book. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it was just such a delight to read, and as soon as I finished reading it, I wanted more, and then I was disgusted to learn that Linda Holmes hadn't written any other books and instead spent her time watching TV for a living because she's the TV critic for NPR. And in researching this video that I'm making right now, I've just discovered that Linda Holmes has a new book called Flying Solo. So I'm going to have to rush out to the bookstore and buy that, but that's not the point. This isn't a video about that. Back to the story. So I read this book, I wanted more, Linda Holmes hadn't written any more, so I jumped on social media and I said, please, I just finished reading Evie Drake Starts Over and I need more. What are some other books like that I might read? And someone jumped in and recommended a book to me, and I looked it up online and I downloaded a sample of the first chapter and I read that first chapter and it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. I resolved to go to the bookstore and buy it next time I was there. But then I forgot the title, and then I forgot the author, and then I forgot what the book was about, and then I forgot who had recommended it to me. And look, I used to work in a bookstore, and I know I've been on the behind the counter when someone comes in and says, "Hi, I'm interested in this book. I can't remember what it's called or who it's by or what it's about, but I saw it advertised on Facebook once. Can you help me?" And I just couldn't bring myself to be that person. So I thought, well, I'm never going to find out what that book was. Sad face. But then, a couple of years later, for my birthday, my dear friends Paul and Maddie bought me a book for my birthday, and I went, oh, this looks nice, thank you very much. And then I didn't read it for ages because I'm like that. And then eventually, when I did get around to opening it up and starting to read the first chapter, I went, this is the book! This is the one that I could never find! And it was Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. Now, having read it, I am in a position to tell you all about it. So, the two principal characters are Lillian and Madison, both young women. Now, Lillian is poor, Madison is rich, but they both went to the same elite girls' boarding school when Lillian was there on a scholarship. And Madison, so they are best friends, best friends. In fact, Lillian kind of wants them to be more than friends, maybe, has a bit of a crush on Madison, which may or may not be so reciprocated, but before the emotional fallout of that can happen, something different happens instead. Madison, the rich girl, brings some drugs home and leaves them in the dorm. The drugs get found, and then rich girl Madison's parents make a deal with Lillian, poor girl's mother, that Lillian is going to take the rap and pretend that the drugs were hers in exchange for money. Basically, the rich family will pay the poor family for Lillian to get in trouble instead of Madison. And the result of that is that Lillian gets expelled. She never sees any of the money because her mother drinks it all away. And her life is kind of ruined after that. And she spends years in dead-end jobs and feeling bitter about it. And then, years later, out of the blue, she gets a message from Madison, rich girl, who wants Lillian, poor girl, to nanny Madison's two children, who spontaneously combust from time to time. Like, whenever they get upset, they just burst into flames. This is the point at which a lot of readers will just jump off the bus, right? And I am not someone who likes magical realism fiction. It's not my jam. And when I discovered that this cover wasn't like metaphorical, that yes, the children actually burst into flames, I was like, am I down with this? I'm not sure this is what I want out of a book. But because Lillian herself, well, all the characters really, but because Lillian herself is such a wonderful character, she's so cynical and prickly and bitter, but also humorous and sympathetic, and she's just wonderful to read about. So no matter how ridiculous the premise got, I was always gonna read this book all the way to the end just because I loved Lillian so much. I think it's also worth noting that you can get away with not really having much of a plot. I mean, the information that I just gave you, 90% of it is in chapter 1, and not a lot more happens really. So there is just kind of the barest wisp of a plot in this book. But you can get away with not really having a plot if you have an amazing sense of humor. And Kevin Wilson's writing style can wring laughter out of the barest of exchanges, if that makes sense. This was a delight to read just because it made me laugh so many times. I might have liked a little bit more from the ending. I might have liked some of the interpersonal conflicts to be resolved in maybe a more satisfying way. But then again, real life is not like that. And for all the fact that this is a book about kids who spontaneously combust, it feels very authentic and it feels like real life. I love those books where they can, well, this is true of all fiction. Like, you know it's fiction, but you believe it's true just because it feels so convincing. And the more outrageous the premise is, if the author can pull that off, the more impressed I am. So yeah, this is a total recommendation for Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I found it, and I'm so glad to hear that Linda Holmes has a new book that maybe I'll be able to review for you once I've read it. But in the meantime, thanks to Tom Jr. who requested this video. If you watching this video, not Tom, if you're someone who's not Tom and you think you're quicker than Tom, be the first to post a comment to decide whether I review Glamorama by Bret Easton Ellis, which is about a male model who gets recruited to become a terrorist. It's basically Zoolander, but not a comedy. Or we need to talk about Kevin by Lionel Shriver, which is about a woman whose son murders a bunch of people, and then the woman is left with the sort of fallout of the community. Both really interesting books. I'd love to talk about either one. So if you are quicker than Tom, post a comment in the comments section and decide what you'd like me to read next. That's all the time I have. I'm Jack Heath, author of Kill Your Brother and a bunch of other books. Thanks for watching. See you soon.